Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Claudia Cardinale is one of the most celebrated actresses of European cinema, known for her captivating beauty, magnetic screen presence, and performances that defined an era of Italian and international film. Born on April 15, 1938, in Tunis, Tunisia, then a French protectorate, Claudia Cardinale, Claude Joséphine Rose Cardinale, was raised in a Sicilian family and spoke French, Arabic, and Italian, skills that later contributed to her versatility as an actress. Early life and discovery. Cardinale's entry into the world of film was almost accidental. In 1957, she won a beauty contest titled The Most Beautiful Italian Girl in Tunisia, which earned her a trip to the Venice Film Festival. Though she initially had no interest in acting, the film industry immediately took notice of her striking looks and natural charisma. Soon after, she was offered a contract with Italian producer Franco Cristaldi, who became her mentor and later her husband. Rise to stardom. Her film debut came in Goha, 1958, alongside Omar Sharif. But it was her performance in Big Deal on Madonna Street, 1958, that established her as one of the most promising new faces in Italian cinema. Cardinale's career blossomed in the 1960s, a golden age for European film. She quickly became associated with the Italian Dolce Vita era, an icon of elegance and sensuality who could convey intelligence and depth behind her beauty. She starred in several acclaimed films, including Rocco and His Brothers, 1960, by Luchino Visconti. Girl with a Suitcase, 1961, The Leopard, 1963, again with Visconti, opposite Burt Lancaster and Alain Delon. 8½, 1963, by Federico Fellini, one of the most celebrated films in cinematic history. The Pink Panther, 1963, by Blake Edwards, which introduced her to English-speaking audiences. Her international breakthrough came with Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, where she played Jill McBain, a widow caught in the violent transformation of the American West. The role showcased her strength, sensuality, and emotional power, cementing her as one of the most iconic actresses of the 20th century. Career and legacy. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Cardinale continued to work with leading directors and actors, appearing in both European and Hollywood productions. While she never embraced the celebrity culture that surrounded many of her contemporaries, her dignified approach and commitment to her craft earned her great respect. Cardinale's career spanned over 6 decades, during which she acted in more than 130 films. She often chose roles that portrayed strong, independent women, mirroring her own personality and values. Beyond acting, she has been an advocate for women's rights and humanitarian causes, serving as a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for the defense of women's rights. Personal life and character. Claudia Cardinale's life off-screen was as complex as her roles. She had a son, Patrick, from a relationship before marriage, which she initially kept secret due to the pressures of her early career. Her marriage to Franco Cristaldi later ended, and she has since maintained a private life focused on her family and social activism. Known for her integrity and refusal to conform to Hollywood's expectations, Cardinale often turned down offers that required her to compromise her values. Her multilingual fluency, natural elegance, and commitment to authentic storytelling made her a truly international figure. Honors and influence. Throughout her life, Claudia Cardinale has received numerous awards, including Lifetime Achievement honors from the Berlin International Film Festival, the Venice Film Festival, and the French César Awards. Her enduring influence can be seen in generations of actresses who cite her as an inspiration for combining glamour with strength and substance. Conclusion: Claudia Cardinale remains a timeless symbol of European cinema, a woman who brought intelligence, warmth, and resilience to the screen. Whether as the enigmatic muse of Fellini or the determined heroine of Leone's Western epic, she embodies the rare fusion of classic beauty and profound artistry. Her legacy endures not only in film history but in the continued admiration of audiences around the world. Major films and cinematic impact. Claudia Cardinale's filmography is rich and varied, spanning neorealist dramas, romantic comedies, and grand historical epics. Her collaborations with master directors of European cinema helped shape some of the most important films of the 20th century. Rocco and His Brothers, 1960, directed by Luchino Visconti. This powerful drama about a poor southern Italian family's struggle for survival in industrial Milan featured Cardinale as Nadia, a tragic figure caught between two brothers. The film marked her first collaboration with Visconti and revealed her dramatic range, portraying vulnerability, sensuality, and deep emotional conflict with remarkable maturity. Girl with a Suitcase, 1961. This early starring role established Cardinale as both a star and a serious actress. She played Ida, a struggling nightclub singer whose affair with a wealthy young man leads to heartbreak. Her performance earned critical acclaim for its emotional honesty, balancing sensual appeal with an underlying sadness that became a hallmark of her best work. The Leopard, 1963, perhaps her most defining role. Il Gattopardo, The Leopard, remains one of the greatest Italian films ever made. As Angelica Sodara, the ambitious and luminous daughter of a nouveau riche mayor, Cardinale embodied the social change sweeping 19th-century Sicily. Acting alongside Burt Lancaster and Alain Delon, she held her own with poise and strength, and her radiant presence symbolized the dawn of a new era. The film won the Palme d'Or at Cannes and cemented her international reputation. 8½, 1963, in Federico Fellini's surreal masterpiece. Cardinale played herself, or rather, the idealized version of the director's muse. To Marcello Mastroianni's tormented filmmaker, she represented purity, creativity, and escape from chaos. Her ethereal beauty and gentle poise made her an emblem of the film's dreamlike allure. Though her role was brief, it became one of the most iconic appearances in film history. The Pink Panther, 1963, Cardinale's charm and comedic timing shone in Blake Edwards' stylish caper alongside David Niven and Peter Sellers. As Princess Dalla, she brought a touch of sophistication and wit to Hollywood's glamorous comedy scene, showing her versatility and ease in English-language films. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, Sergio Leone's monumental western redefined the genre, and Cardinale's portrayal of Jill McBain stands as one of cinema's most memorable female characters. The film's sweeping visual poetry, combined with her blend of strength and tenderness, made her the emotional heart of Leone's epic. Jill was not merely a damsel in distress but a symbol of survival and renewal in a brutal world, a role that solidified Cardinale's reputation as a powerful screen heroine. Later career and continued influence through the 1970s and 1980s, Cardinale remained active in both European and international cinema. She worked with renowned directors such as Werner Herzog, Fitzcarraldo, 1982, where she co-starred with Klaus Kinski in one of the most daring productions ever filmed. Her continued presence in art films and character-driven dramas demonstrated her longevity and adaptability. In the 1990s and 2000s, she appeared in films like And Now, Ladies and Gentlemen, 2002, by Claude Lelouch and Once Upon a Time, The Dolce Vita, 2011, reflecting on her own cinematic legacy. Cardinale also made appearances in television and theater, proving her devotion to performance beyond the silver screen. Style, symbolism, and feminine strength. Claudia Cardinale represented a new kind of femininity, radiant yet self-possessed, sensual yet independent. Unlike some of her contemporaries, she avoided typecasting and rejected the image of the submissive beauty. Her screen presence exuded natural warmth and quiet intelligence, making her characters feel both real and larger than life. Her beauty, often described as Mediterranean and earthy, stood in contrast to the colder glamour of Hollywood stars of the time. Directors admired her ability to express emotion without artifice. Her performances felt instinctive and genuine. Cardinale once said, "I never felt like a sex symbol. I was always just me." This authenticity endeared her to audiences and preserved her appeal for decades. Awards and recognition. Throughout her illustrious career, Cardinale received numerous honors, including the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement at the Venice Film Festival, 1993, the Golden Bear for Lifetime Achievement at the Berlin International Film Festival, 2002, the César Honorary Award in France, 1993, the David D. Donatello Lifetime Achievement Award in Italy. She has also been recognized for her humanitarian work as a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador, focusing on women's rights and children's welfare. Personal life and legacy. Cardinale's personal life was marked by resilience and discretion. She raised 2 children, Patrick and Claudia, and maintained a deep connection to her Italian and Tunisian roots. Despite offers from Hollywood to become a permanent fixture, she chose to remain based in Europe, valuing artistic freedom over fame. Her legacy is multifaceted. She is not only a screen icon but also a cultural bridge between Italian neorealism and international cinema. Her influence can be seen in later actresses like Monica Bellucci, Marion Cotillard, and Penelope Cruz, performers who blend glamour with emotional depth. Conclusion. Claudia Cardinale's career is a testament to the enduring power of cinema to combine beauty, intelligence, and soul. She rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most admired actresses in the world, embodying the elegance and emotional complexity of European film at its height. With grace, courage, and authenticity, she remains, decades later, a symbol of timeless artistry and feminine strength. Detailed timeline of Claudia Cardinale's life and career 1938 to 1956. Early life in Tunisia. Claudia Cardinale was born Claude Joséphine Rose Cardinale on April 15, 1938, in La Goulette, Tunis, a coastal suburb of Tunisia. Her parents were Italian immigrants from Sicily, her father, Francesco Cardinale, a railway worker, and her mother, Yolanda Greco, a homemaker. Claudia grew up speaking French and Tunisian Arabic, learning Italian only later when her career took her to Rome. In her youth, Cardinale was known more for her shyness than for any ambition to perform. She studied at the Saint Joseph de l'Apparition School and later at the Paul Cambon School in Tunis, where she considered becoming a teacher. However, fate intervened when she was persuaded to enter a beauty contest that would change her life. 1957 to 1959, from beauty contest to film star at age 19. Claudia entered the Most Beautiful Italian Girl in Tunisia contest. She won first prize, earning a trip to the Venice Film Festival. There, she caught the attention of producer Franco Cristaldi, who saw in her a rare combination of natural beauty, intelligence, and mystery. Despite her initial reluctance to act, she famously disliked hearing her own voice. Cristaldi convinced her to study acting and signed her to a long-term contract with Vita's Films. Her film debut came in Goha, 1958, directed by Jacques Baratier and starring Omar Sharif. The film's success in Cannes opened the door to Italian cinema, and Cardinale quickly became one of its rising stars. Her early roles in Big Deal on Madonna Street, 1958, and The Magistrate, 1959, established her as a charming, lively screen presence, radiant yet down-to-earth. 1960 to 1964, breakthrough in stardom. The early 1960s marked Cardinale's ascent to international fame. 1960. She appeared in Visconti's Rocco and His Brothers, an emotionally charged masterpiece that showcased her dramatic ability. 1961, Girl with a Suitcase brought her critical acclaim, earning her comparisons to Anna Magnani for her realism and passion. 1962, she starred alongside Marcello Mastroianni in The Law, and with Jean-Paul Belmondo in Cartouche, proving her versatility in both drama and adventure. 1963, a landmark year, she appeared in The Leopard by Luchino Visconti and 8½ by Federico Fellini, two of the greatest films in world cinema. That same year, she also ventured into Hollywood with The Pink Panther, directed by Blake Edwards, becoming an international sensation. By the mid-1960s, Claudia Cardinale was one of the most recognizable faces in global cinema, her image gracing magazines from Vogue to Life, often described as the embodiment of Mediterranean allure. 1965 to 1970. International recognition and artistic maturity. Cardinale's career continued to flourish as she took on diverse and challenging roles across Europe and the United States. 1965. She starred in The Professionals with Burt Lancaster and Lee Marvin, one of her most successful Hollywood films. 1966, appeared in Lost Command and Blindfold with Rock Hudson. 1968. Delivered her career-defining performance in Once Upon a Time in the West, directed by Sergio Leone. Her portrayal of Jill McBain, a widowed pioneer navigating a world of violence and greed, was hailed as a masterpiece of quiet strength and emotional resonance. 1969. Starred in The Hell with Heroes and The Red Tent, opposite Sean Connery. Her ability to embody both tenderness and resilience made her one of the most respected actresses of her generation. 1970s to 1980s, expanding horizons throughout the 1970s, Cardinale balanced her work between European art films and popular cinema. She appeared in The Adventures of Gerard, 1970, Il Giorno della Civetta, 1968, and The Ruffian, 1983, exploring political and moral themes. Fitzcarraldo, 1982, by Werner Herzog. A legendary production that tested the limits of endurance in the Amazon rainforest. Fitzcarraldo, 1982, by Werner Herzog. A legendary production that tested the limits of endurance in the Amazon rainforest. Her performances during this era were marked by introspection and emotional depth, proving that her artistry had matured beyond glamour. 1990s to 2000s. Legacy and recognition. As the decades passed, Cardinale became a revered elder stateswoman of cinema. She continued to act in both French and Italian productions, while also serving as a cultural ambassador for film and women's rights. 1993. Received the César Honorary Award in France and the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement at the Venice Film Festival, 2002. Honored with the Golden Bear for Lifetime Achievement at the Berlin International Film Festival, 2005 to 2010. Appeared in And Now, Ladies and Gentlemen, and A Handful of Dust, reflecting on love and memory in later life. 2010s present. A living legend even into her 80s, Claudia Cardinale remains active in film and public life. She has been celebrated at retrospectives in Cannes, Venice, and Rome, and continues to advocate for human rights and gender equality as a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador. Her 2017 film, Niente e come sembra, Nothing is as it seems, demonstrated her enduring passion for cinema. In interviews, she often reflects on the past with humility and humor, emphasizing the importance of independence and self-respect. Personality and philosophy. Claudia Cardinale has often been described as strong, private, and compassionate, a woman who values dignity above fame. Unlike many of her peers, she avoided scandal and cultivated a life of integrity. Her independence was a defining trait. She once stated, "I always refused to be a slave to Hollywood. I wanted to remain myself, to make films that mean something." She spoke openly about the difficulties of being a young woman in a male-dominated industry, and she fought for the right to control her image and her roles. Her advocacy for women's empowerment is not just symbolic, it's deeply personal, rooted in her own experiences of overcoming pressure and secrecy in the early years of her career. Legacy. Claudia Cardinale's influence extends far beyond her filmography. She is remembered as a symbol of European cinema's golden age, alongside Sophia Loren and Brigitte Bardot. A bridge between art and popular film, mastering both high drama and mainstream appeal. An icon of feminine strength and authenticity, whose beauty was matched by intelligence and heart. Her image, elegant, soulful, and ageless, continues to inspire directors, photographers, and audiences worldwide. Today, Claudia Cardinale stands as one of the last living legends of post-war Italian cinema, her career a monument to artistry, resilience, and timeless grace. Influence on fashion, photography, and popular culture. Claudia Cardinale was more than a film star. She was a symbol of style, grace, and Mediterranean allure that transcended cinema. Her influence extended deeply into fashion, photography, and cultural identity, leaving a visual and emotional legacy that remains vivid today. Fashion icon of the 1960s and 1970s. In the 1960s, when Italian cinema and fashion were shaping global aesthetics, Claudia Cardinale emerged as one of the defining figures of La Dolce Vita style. She embodied an effortless glamour, natural, warm, and sophisticated, that contrasted sharply with the polished coolness of Hollywood stars. Unlike many actresses who relied on stylists and heavy makeup, Cardinale preferred simplicity. Her beauty was earthy and real. Her full hair, sun-kissed complexion, and expressive eyes became signatures of an authentic, Mediterranean femininity. She worked closely with some of the most influential designers of her time, including Emilio Pucci, Nino Cerruti, and Valentino, but she never allowed fashion to overshadow her individuality. Cardinale's approach was instinctive. She wore what felt comfortable and natural, turning even the simplest dress into a statement of quiet elegance. In The Leopard, her ballroom gown, lavishly designed and filmed by Visconti, became one of cinema's most iconic costumes. The way she carried herself in period clothing, whether in a 19th-century corset or a modern sheath dress, reflected both sensuality and dignity. Her style influenced generations of actresses and designers. Even today, her looks are referenced in fashion editorials and collections by Dolce & Gabbana and Dior, who celebrate her blend of rustic charm and aristocratic poise. Muse of the masters. Photography and art. Cardinale was a favorite subject of many of the 20th century's greatest photographers. Her image graced the covers of Vogue, Elle, Life, Paris Match, and Look, often representing the ideal of European femininity, romantic, natural, and mysterious. Photographers such as Richard Avedon, Helmut Newton, David Bailey, and Tazio Secchiaroli captured her in unforgettable portraits that balanced sensuality with strength. In each photo, her confidence radiates. She looks directly into the lens, unflinching, embodying both allure and independence. Her face was also a favorite among painters and illustrators of the era, often appearing in film posters and fine art depictions that highlighted her distinctive profile and magnetic gaze. Cardinale's image became part of the visual language of Italian culture, her likeness associated with freedom, warmth, and authenticity. She was not just photographed, she was interpreted, becoming a living canvas of emotion and light. Pop culture and international influence. Claudia Cardinale's appeal extended well beyond Europe. By the mid-1960s, she was an international symbol of sensual sophistication, admired in America, Asia, and the Middle East. Her films were shown worldwide, often dubbed into local languages. Yet her face and gestures transcended words. Audiences saw in her a combination of old-world romance and modern confidence. She represented a new woman, educated, self-assured, and emotionally expressive. Cardinale's characters often symbolized transformation, the changing Italy of the leopard, the moral conflicts of Rocco and his brothers, and the pioneering spirit of Once Upon a Time in the West. These roles resonated with social changes happening globally, particularly women asserting independence and identity in the 1960s and 1970s. In later years, her likeness appeared in pop art, posters, and even digital tributes, continuing to inspire filmmakers and musicians alike. Quentin Tarantino cited her performance in Leone's Western as one of the greatest in film history. Designers such as Stefano Gabbana have mentioned her as a muse for embodying the true Sicilian woman, strong, proud, and sensual. Personality and public image. Claudia Cardinale was admired not just for her appearance, but for her personality, warm, direct, and grounded. She avoided the Hollywood publicity machine, preferring sincerity over spectacle. Her laughter, often described as radiant and contagious, became part of her charm. She maintained friendships with some of the great figures of cinema: Marcello Mastroianni, Alain Delon, Burt Lancaster, Federico Fellini, and Luchino Visconti, all of whom spoke of her professionalism and humanity. Despite her fame, she was known for her humility, her respect for the craft of filmmaking, and her deep sense of loyalty to her collaborators. Cardinale also resisted the typecasting that often limited actresses of her time. While her beauty could have confined her to decorative roles, she insisted on depth and authenticity in her characters. Her quiet defiance became a model for later generations of women in film, humanitarian work, and later recognition outside of cinema. Cardinale dedicated herself to social causes, especially women's rights, education, and the protection of children. As a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador, she has advocated for gender equality and the empowerment of women in developing countries. She often speaks about the importance of education and independence, saying, "Freedom is the most beautiful thing a woman can have. I have always fought to keep mine." Her commitment to humanitarian work earned her numerous international honors, including recognition from the United Nations and various cultural foundations in Italy and France. Enduring legacy. Claudia Cardinale remains one of the last living icons of the golden age of European cinema, a bridge between the romanticism of the 1950s and the realism of modern film. Her image endures not only because of her beauty but because of what she represented: a woman who refused to be defined by anyone but herself. In film retrospectives and museum exhibitions, she continues to be celebrated for her artistry and her trailblazing spirit. Younger generations rediscover her through restored versions of her films and digital archives, finding in her performances a timeless emotional truth. Critics and historians often note that while other stars were manufactured, Cardinale's stardom was organic, rooted in her natural magnetism and emotional honesty. She didn't act to be admired. She acted to reveal something real. Final reflections. Claudia Cardinale's journey, from a shy Tunisian girl to an international screen legend, reflects not just a cinematic evolution but a cultural one. She helped redefine what it meant to be a woman in the public eye, free, intelligent, passionate, and compassionate. She once said, "Cinema gave me a voice when I had none. But it also taught me that silence can speak louder than words." That sentiment captures her essence perfectly, an actress whose power came not from spectacle, but from sincerity. Today, she stands as a timeless emblem of beauty, art, and human dignity, her face forever illuminated in the light of the great films she helped create. Acting style and collaborations with great directors. Claudia Cardinale's acting career is not defined merely by the glamour of her image but by the depth, intelligence, and emotional truth she brought to her performances. While her beauty drew the world's attention, it was her talent, discipline, and instinctive artistry that sustained her career for over 6 decades. She became a favorite collaborator of some of cinema's most visionary directors, each of whom discovered a different facet of her character and craft. Luchino Visconti, the noble realist Visconti, known for his operatic storytelling and attention to historical detail, saw in Claudia Cardinale a perfect embodiment of sensuality and dignity. Their partnership was crucial in shaping her career and artistic identity. In Rocco and His Brothers, 1960, Cardinale played Nadia, a complex woman trapped in moral and emotional turmoil. Under Visconti's guidance, she learned to balance passion with restraint, delivering a nuanced performance that was both raw and poetic. Their most celebrated collaboration, The Leopard, 1963, elevated Cardinale to international acclaim. As Angelica Sodara, she symbolized Italy's social transformation, radiant, ambitious, and full of life. Visconti admired her ability to blend aristocratic grace with working-class earthiness, making her the emotional center of the film. Visconti's direction refined her dramatic instincts. He taught her how to use stillness, silence, and subtle gestures to convey emotion. She later said of him, "Visconti taught me that movement on screen is like music, it must have rhythm, intention, and grace." Federico Fellini, the dreammaker. Few filmmakers understood the poetic side of cinema like Federico Fellini, and his use of Cardinale in 8½, 1963, immortalized her as an ethereal muse of creativity. In the film, she plays Claudia, the ideal woman, pure, compassionate, and wise, who exists only in the imagination of a director, Marcello Mastroianni, struggling with artistic paralysis. Though her screen time was brief, her impact was enormous. She became the embodiment of Fellini's belief that women were mysteries of grace and power. Fellini described her as a dream who speaks, and Cardinale in turn credited him with helping her understand the metaphysical side of acting, the ability to suggest emotion through presence rather than action. Sergio Leone, the myth-maker. Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, gave Cardinale her most powerful role, a performance that transcends genre and gender boundaries. As Jill McBain, she portrayed a widow determined to build a new life in the ruthless world of the American frontier. Leone, known for his masculine narratives, built the entire emotional structure of the film around Cardinale's character. Her performance brought compassion and humanity to an otherwise violent tale, transforming the film into a meditation on civilization and endurance. Jill McBain was more than a survivor, she was a symbol of the new world rising from the ashes of the old. Cardinale infused her with both sensual vulnerability and iron will. Leone later admitted that Cardinale's strength inspired him to make Jill the film's heart, saying, "Without Claudia, There would be no soul in Once Upon a Time in the West. Her haunting presence, coupled with Ennio Morricone's unforgettable score, produced one of cinema's most enduring portraits of feminine power. Blake Edwards, the elegant comedienne. Hollywood often struggled to understand Cardinale's complexity, but director Blake Edwards saw her potential as a light comedienne in The Pink Panther, 1963. As Princess Dalla, she displayed a playful charm and subtle wit that complemented the absurdity of Peter Sellers' bumbling Inspector Clouseau. Edwards admired her ability to be glamorous without pretension and funny without losing dignity, a rare quality in comedic cinema. This film introduced Cardinale to American audiences and established her as a global star. She handled English dialogue with confidence, proving that her charisma transcended language barriers. Werner Herzog, the explorer of extremes. Later in her career, Cardinale worked with the German director Werner Herzog on Fitzcarraldo, 1982. A film renowned for its monumental ambition and difficult production in the Amazon jungle. As Molly, the mistress of Klaus Kinski's visionary adventurer, she brought tenderness and grounding to an otherwise manic tale of obsession and madness. Herzog's set was physically demanding, filmed in remote jungles under extreme conditions, but Cardinale's professionalism and resilience impressed everyone on set. Herzog praised her spirit, saying, "Claudia was unafraid of chaos. She understood that beauty could exist even in the madness of the jungle." Her work with Herzog demonstrated her continuing passion for challenging, unconventional cinema, proof that she was not content to rest on her fame but continued to push her artistic boundaries. Acting method and technique. Cardinale's acting style is often described as instinctive, emotional, and deeply human. She was not a method actress in the traditional sense, instead.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.